if somebody sees one, how many people won't say anything? How many people are
Yeah,
scared?
that's been the thing out here is most of the cowboys out here have seen something, be it a UFO, Dogman, Bigfoot, something like that. Most of them have. Whether or not they're going to talk about it, you get them a couple of alcoholic drinks at a campfire late at night, and
Right.
you'll start getting some stories out of them.
Get somebody to open up
Usually.
a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's I know for a fact that, I mean, I've hunted out there at night and been around. I've hunted out there for 30 some years and all over these different places all over Oklahoma. And it's not just there, but other places, because I've had Indian people tell me they go in at night, they get their chores done, they go in at night and they don't come back out. They stay inside because they know what's walking around out there. And I told a buddy of mine, I said, man, if we could take an airplane with some kind of a night vision device and fly over the prairie at night and just do a grid pattern back and forth, you'd probably be shocked at what you'd see.
Right.
I know well, Paul knows this guy. I'd love to get with this dude. I want to talk to him. That said he saw the flying saucer on the back of the truck the night he was, he drove with a saltwater disposal or something, and he saw that saucer that was on the back of that truck. The military was transporting it somewhere at 2:00 in the morning, and you got that story. I've had other stories of people said that they've seen the military hauling stuff around late at night, and you're not supposed to be having any convoy type stuff going on at nighttime. After sundown, it's supposed to be illegal to do it, but that's when they're out because they figure everybody's under wraps. They're not nobody around.
Yeah.
But I've had more than one person tell me that they've been out at nighttime on a dirt road and they'd see one of these things walking down the road or across the road or something. So they're all over Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And you could be driving down the highway and there it is all of a sudden. It's just being at the right place at the right time.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like, with AI coming out now, people can fudge stuff. And if it's not fuzzy, it's probably not real because these are partly interdimensional beings. A lot of times whenever people will see like a Bigfoot, like in the daytime or something, they'll say, or it faded out or it disappeared, while it was walking, things like that. And I'm like, it's interdimensional. So if you're getting video of it, it should be fuzzy, in my opinion. So there's that.
Well, you've got, like I say, for a fact here, I told you about this story. There was this guy that worked with me. He's a Cherokee Indian, and he came to work over there at the shop, and he's over one day. He worked there about a week. He come over one day. He said, "Hey, can I talk to you for a second?" I said, "Yeah." And I thought we was going to talk about welding. He goes, "Are you the Wiley Coyote man?" That's what he called me. I said, "Yeah." I said, "What do they call you?" I said, "Wiley Dave Fritts." He said, "Yeah, that." He said, "Man," he said, "I need to ask you something." I said, "What?" He goes, "What does a dog man look like?" I said, "Well," I said, "some people call him a werewolf." I said, "I don't call it that." I said, "It's a wolf that walks on its back feet." I said, "Have you ever seen the movie Van Helsing?" He goes, "Yeah, I've seen it." I said, "Well, that wolf that's in there when that girl, her husband or her brother turns into the werewolf?" "Yeah." I said, "Well, that's what it is." I said, "They're that way all the time. They don't shape. I don't think they turn from a person to that." I said, "They are a wolf all the time." He said, "But they're really that big?" I said, "They're that big. Yeah, that's what they are." He said, "Oh my God." I said, "What?" He said, "I saw one." I said, "When?" He said, "Just the other day." I said, "Well, what do you mean you saw one the other day?" He said, "Well, I live at Jones, Oklahoma." And I had to look to see where that was. It's down by Oklahoma City, out towards where you guys are. And he said he was going down this road to his house. And he said he turned the corner there, and the house is about 3/4 of a mile down this road after that. And he said this thing was in the woods looking at him, staring. He said it was big as my car, Dave. I said, what the ears look like? He said, long and pointed. I said, yeah, that's a dog, man. He said, well, how many are there? I said, I don't know. I said, if there's one, there's probably another one. I said, there ain't just one anywhere. I said, there's more than one everywhere you go. I said, people seen them all over the state. What do they do? I said, eat people. I said, don't get out of the truck, or don't stop and try to throw it a package of weenies, you know. He said, oh man, he said, he just looked at me. He just got this real strange look on his face. He goes, oh, like he's going to get sick. So he didn't come in the rest of the week. And so he was gone. And I asked the guy I worked for there, I asked him, Gene, I said, hey, where's Pat at? He goes, oh, he's moving, man. He's getting out of where he lives now. I said, yeah, he told me he saw something in the woods. So he said, yeah, dog man. That's what he said. He goes, damn things are showing up everywhere. And I said, you know, so I said, well, yeah, I said, it's pretty scary if you see one that close. So he came back to work, and he worked a couple of days, and then we never heard from him after that. I don't know where he went.
Yeah. Well, and the Native Americans have different names, and they definitely differentiate the difference between a dog man and a werewolf.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I just had a guy that's a Cherokee Indian over there at the shop. He's a real good welder, and he's a pretty smart guy. And he asked me, he said, well, I studied a little bit about it. He said, yeah, he said, they're real. He said, I wish they wasn't. I said, yeah, me too, because it messes up my hunting opportunities. So, I said, you never know when you're going to blow the call and when's going to come in. I said, I seem to attract the dang things. But, and I've had people go, hey, I want to buy one of them calls. I said, yeah, you want to buy one of them calls. I said, call up something. You want to call up something that puts you between two slices of bread.
Yeah, people that are going out looking for this, they nah.
They don't. They're not too bright. I mean, I said
you need to be prayed up before you're going out and looking for this kind of stuff.
I said, I don't want to have to shoot one, because I said I don't know how many rounds it'll take to put it down.
Right.
And I said the military uses high caliber machine guns on them, and I said, well, they kill them. And I said, when I hear they have to use several rounds, to take them down. So, but well,
and if you get one, then they're going to come in and take it.
Yeah, you can't show it to nobody.
Yeah, because they're going to come in and clean it up. I mean,
because if you go showing it around, you're going to have a problem.
Yeah.
And that's like that buddy of mine that lived at Baxter Springs, Kansas. He has a facility there, a business, and he called me and told me the story. So we interviewed him, me and Lance said. He said they were in the store, and he said all of a sudden they heard this big crash, and it was just a second. It wasn't just very long after that. I don't know how they got there that quick, 4 or 5 minutes. The county sheriff was there, and they come in and told him everybody had to stay in the store. Nobody could go outside. Locked everybody in. And Terry goes, you can't do that. I own this place. He goes, well, right now I own this place, so you have to do what I tell you. So they wouldn't let nobody outside. He had 4 or 5 people in the store, and so he was arguing with them back and forth. And then the military showed up, and they're talking to this guy, and they're standing there, and he said, pretty soon you heard a helicopter coming. It was a Chinook, a big one. So he goes, what is going on? So he couldn't figure out what it was. So Terry goes into the bathroom, I guess, and he could see out the window just a little bit and look. And he said he could see something big and black on the ground. And they were going to load it with his forklift. And they put it into a cargo net and got it buttoned up and got it on that helicopter. And they put the forklift back up in the chopper and everything, got everybody on board, and they left. And so when I got ready to leave, the record company come in and hauled the car off. They took the car and everything, swept everything up, looked like nothing happened. And he said they took his security tapes. He said, "Hey, those tapes are mine." He said, "Nope, they're now the property of the U.S. government." He said, "I got these are evidence. I got to have them because," he said, "what that crash is all on this film." And so Terry couldn't get any of the evidence there, but he said, so he asked me what it was. He said, "That sounds like something that you know about." I said, "Yeah, they hit a Bigfoot or a Dogman." I said, "That's exactly what they did. And they probably come out of Fort Riley, Kansas." You know, so
Yep.
that's what happens. If one gets hit by a car, I've heard of them being hit by trucks and stuff like that. But if you shoot one and try to bring it to light, you're going to have all kinds of dang problems.
Yeah.
You know, they tried to ruin old Mike Humphrey. Do you know that story, the siege of Honobia?
I don't know if I do.
Oh, it's an ordeal in itself. This thing was, it's been told quite a few times now. I was one of the first ones to talk about it, but I met the guy that shot the Bigfoot on Mike Humphrey. He's a big old dude, and I met him at this Bigfoot festival, and he was on a show with a guy named Jim Lansdale, and it was called Killing Bigfoot. So they were trying to kill another one on film. And of course, I knew they'd never get it done because they ain't gonna let that be seen on TV. It's just a deal where they call into a place and then they go chase them around and they show evidence, but they don't. They show tracks and hair and all this stuff, but they never show a body. So it lasted for a few seasons. But anyway, so Mike has actually killed one. And like I told you, that's when I was in that hunting camp with those guys I worked with. And we heard that story, and there's a lot of controversy about it. So later on, after I have my encounter, well, I go down there and I meet old Mike and talk to him. And he laid it out for me. And he said what happened was these things had broke into his dad, his brother, and him had property on one road right in line with each other within 3/4 of a mile. So he said that, he had five deer in a smokehouse out there. And he said, middle of the night, there's this big ruckus and something tearing the smokehouse down. And he goes out there, and these Bigfoot are out there, and they're destroying the smokehouse, taking the deer. They took every deer. They didn't take one, they took them all and tore up the smokehouse in the process. So, man, oh, Mike mad, So then he's back in the house a couple of nights later, and he's got this big dumpster out behind the house, and he hears one in the dumpster. So he loads up his shotgun, and he runs out the door and runs around the corner of the house. And he said, before he could get the sights on the thing, I guess the thing heard him coming or something. He said it knocked the door off of that dumpster. That steel door went flying off of there. And said this thing come out of there like a bullet, and just took off down that road. He said he couldn't hardly get a shot at it. So these things continued to harass him and his family. And they would lean it. They'd come up to the windows at night and growl at the kids through the window. Can you imagine that going on at your house? And look in the front picture window and scare the crap out of the family and stuff, just a regular horror story. And so Mike, he has to work and everything. So he calls the BFRO. You know who that is?
Mm-mm.
It's the Finding Bigfoot organization. And they have the show on TV. And so they come. He said, I need somebody to send a hunter down here to get rid of these things. So they sent this old man down there. He was about 80 years old. And he said all he did the whole time was sleep. He said he couldn't kill nothing except time. So he said Mike got mad. So he they would move the lights and stuff where they could get around them and get up to the house and still harass the family. So He said one day he was there by himself, and this big commotion outside, and his niece had come to see him, and she come through the gate, and these things were harassing her. They attacked the car and scared the little boy. He was down the floorboard, and so Mike said he scared them off, but they still was going to come back, so he got the girl and the kid out of there and stuff, and so he sent the family to stay with relatives. And him and Tim went and got some rifles and stuff, so they said they'd had enough. Couldn't get anybody to help them. The game department wouldn't help them. They thought they were crazy. And so he said they sat back to back in that house one night, and this thing attacked the front door. Said it hit the front door as hard as it could. And Mike jumped up, kicked the door open as it was running down the steps. He said about 15 yards out, he shot it in the back of the head 3 times with an SKS. He said dropped it like a set of car keys. And he said, so he said, I got one now. We're going to prove it. So Tim runs to the truck, and he gets in the truck and fires it up and backs it up. They're going to throw a log chain around this thing's ankle and drag it to the barn. And Mike said before he could get that chain strung out of the back of that truck, 2 bigger to the fence and grab the body of that one and run off in the woods with it. And all this is happening in just a few seconds. And he said they were totally shocked. So he said they threw big old rocks at the house. They were just, pounding the house with rocks and everything. So they loaded up their ammunition, started shooting out through the woods and just spraying the place with gunfire. And he said it sounded like a monkey farm out there, just all kinds of monkey sounds in the woods, And so it got so bad they finally had to move. He had to move to a different place. And it never calmed down until once he moved away from there, he said that all the activity stopped. But it was because he killed that one, And then I've heard stories. We've been up there calling. We've actually called and got them to answer us. But I've heard stories of people saying that after they shot that one, they heard them on the side of the mountain howling and crying because this one had been killed, like it was a person and stuff. And I don't know if there's any truth to that. But they've come out now recently in the last couple of months and said that some of these scientists have said they've determined that the government that these things are the Neanderthal. That's what they are. I said, okay.
So
we know what they are. Huh?
So good for evolving, huh?
Yeah. Well, we know what they are, and
yeah,
they're not from here. Dogman was engineered to do something else, and there's no telling what else that's going to show up. That same place we talked about earlier, that Dulce, New Mexico, I heard a story out there of 2 doctors that were going to what is it, Sasser? They're going to a seminar in Albuquerque. And they had their own airplane. They were flying along. So they're flying over this place, flying along there talking. And one looked up and he said, hey, take the plane down. Go down and said, make a circle around that mountain and come back around again. So what'd you see? He said, I don't know. He said, fly back around there. Let me look. So he said, they made a circle and they come back around. And he said, this guy was just floored. He said, what they were looking at was a, you know what a velociraptor is? Like on the Jurassic Park. One of the dinosaurs, that has that eats people, chases them down and eats them. He said this thing was running around down there on the desert floor. And the doctor buddy didn't believe me at first. He goes, are you whacked out? He goes, I need to examine you. He goes, you let me fly and you look out the window. So he turns the plane around, and he flies around, comes back around, and he looks, and there it is. He sees it. And he said they just were totally shocked. And they told the story, and they said that the government tried to shut them up because I guess this thing had gotten loose and it was running around out there, but they had seen it. So where'd that come from?
Right.
some research facility.
Yeah. I mean, we've got more of that kind of stuff than what people realize. It's kind of like CERN is not the only place. We've got some of those here in America too. And whenever they're, changing the frequency on CERN and cranking it up, they've got to be doing it with the ones over here too, So there's all kinds of stuff going on.
There may have been when these guys saw those, but the deal that freaked me out was that night we was at Walmart and I saw the reptilian. I saw it, because you hear these things. Oh man, and it's real. It's real, and you go, oh man, I cannot believe these things are out walking around. And the Bible stories, I try to tell people. I said, look, the Lord, He showed me what it was. When Eve was in the Garden of Eden and she was deceived by the serpent, it wasn't a snake. It was one of these. It was a reptilian. No. That's what it was.
Yeah, we've looked up the word idea for what that is, and it's a seraph, and it's considered a shining one. Yep.
So they've been here all along. They've been here all along, even when God put us on the planet. And from what I understand, the Lord told them that we were going to coexist as long as they behaved themselves and did what they were supposed to. Well, they made themselves look like us. They cloaked themselves. Now we find out that what are they? A lot of them people have said that they're news entities, they're celebrities. They think there's some of them, the dignitaries in the
and they're getting
royal family.
Too. The whole drinking blood and all that kind of stuff. They're getting quite brazen.
That was a Bigfoot scream.
Well, my dogs are
it's
telling me that the children are home, so my house is
attacking the Ewoks.
Yep, our alarm bells.
The Ewoks are live in action. Yeah,
they are. They are definitely.
These people, I think nowadays, the people that are out there that are interested in this stuff, they need to open their mind up a little bit, and they need to not be so closed-minded because people think, oh, well, that's not real. Well, a guy that I know that's in the military, he worked for the CIA too. And I met all these guys by, some of the bases and stuff I worked with and military projects I worked on. And Kenny told me, he said, Dave, I'm going to tell you something. He said, if they've made a movie about something, it's already happened. He said, that's where they get the ideas for this stuff. He said, the flying saucer movies.
And they give us so many hints in the movies. So many hints in the movies of what's going on and what they're doing. There's so many hints.
Bob Lazar, they tried to make him out to be some wacko. I guarantee you that guy knows way more than they can even think about.
Yeah, and that's what they're always trying to do. It's kind of gotten old at this point that, like, the word conspiracy theorists, it's kind of, people aren't taking it seriously anymore. They're not taking it seriously anymore. It's like, nah, there are conspiracies. And the people who recognize what's going on, they're just seeing what's going on. They're making connections and putting things together. And you don't have to be some nutcase to be able to
people will
figure some things out.
Yeah, they'll believe these movies and believe these things that they see. And I say, well, if you think about that and you see if they could think this up, well, and it could be real, and then you find out that it is. I mean, something's making, like Jeff Meldrum said, something's making Bigfoot tracks all over the world. And it ain't two guys with wooden shoes walking around, jumping out of a helicopter, doing it here and there, and then going somewhere else and doing it again. Look at the crop circles. I mean, they have videos of the things happening live right there, And I mean, I had something happen to me that was totally a shock to me. I mean, this has really opened my eyes when this happened. And I was come home from work one night, and I was having trouble with a girl I was married to. I didn't know she was going to try to take me out. And I came home from work, and my corgi dog, he was in the den in there. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, a white ball of light comes through my window the size of a softball. It looked like somebody lit up that welding machine I work with in the front room. And it popped real loud and bounced across the carpet, lit up the house, rolled under the couch, and then that was it. And I thought fire come out of the sockets in the side of the wall. I said, oh man, what's going to happen now? And so I looked under the couch and there was nothing there. But I had an ionized smell, like when you iron a shirt, and you smell that smell. That's the way it smelled.
Right.
So my dad used to be a Sunday school teacher, so my dad was alive. I called him. I said, Dad, this just happened. Told him all about it. He goes, what color was it? I said, bright white. He goes, huh. He goes, didn't break the glass, didn't move any blinds or anything. I said, nope. He said, well, I don't think I'd be concerned about it. It sounded like to me you just got some help delivered. I said, what? He goes, you got an angel in your house. That's what my dad said. I said, what? He goes, yeah. He said, that's how God delivers them. You got an angel in your house. Something's fixing to happen. He goes, he's on guard duty. Just go to bed and don't worry about it. So I did what he said. I didn't worry about it. So later on down the road here, a few weeks later, my stepsister comes down. I'm getting ready to have Sarah, Sarah, and getting ready to have knee surgery. And she's going to help take care of me. And we're there at the house. And then all of a sudden, somebody sets my field on fire outside my house, and they're trying to burn me out. 70-mile-an-hour wind. I mean, I was a fireman, and I knew what was fixing to happen. My dogs were barking, and they alerted us to what was going on. And so we just had minutes to get out. And I got Sarah in her truck, and I got the animals and the dogs and her cat and stuff in her truck, got her down the hill and then the road. And I drove my pickup down there. And so cousins lived across the road from us. And the flames were so high down there that people could see it from everywhere around. They were coming from everywhere, and so I could hear the fire truck coming, and the fire truck was a mile from town. And so I told Sarah, I said, I'm going back to the house. I got a couple of rifles up there and a couple of guitars, and I ain't letting them burn up in that house. She goes, if you go up there, you'll die. She goes, no, don't go back. And so her and Trina both were in the road. They were begging me not to go. So I jumped in the truck and took off and went back up there. And I made 2 or 3 trips in and out of the house and got my stuff and come back down the road. And when I got out of the truck, they were in tears. And they were feeling up me and everything. Oh my God, you're alive! You're alive! I said, well, yeah, I'm alive. We saw you. You were on fire. Yes, you were. You were on fire. Had fire all over you. I said, well, don't look like I got fire on me now. Pretty good shape. So the fire truck comes, and I go back up the hill, and the old fire chief, he squirts a little water, and the wind quit blowing, just like that. And he got off the truck and looked at me and said, Dave, we fully expected to find you dead up here. He said, I could not believe the way those flames looked from the road. I said, yeah, that's pretty high. He goes, well, what happened? I said, I don't know. It didn't burn the thing. It didn't burn just a little bit siding on the house, one little spot. I had my horse sitting out there, a machine sitting on a trailer, another 4-wheel drive truck, 4-wheelers, my shop, everything sitting around. Everywhere that the fire had stopped, you could take a tape measure and come out 2 feet exactly. There was a 2-foot strip where the fire had stopped all the way around it. And fire chief looks at me and he goes, son, I'm going to tell you something. Jesus was walking this hill tonight. He was here in person. I said, you think so? He goes, I guarantee you. He goes, you must be living right, boy. He said, we fully expect to see this place turn into a cinder. He said, you know how hard that wind was blowing? I said, yeah. He said, but that's what's so funny. It just stopped blowing all of a sudden. We squirted a little bit of water and that fire went out. I said, I wonder what happened. He said, I don't know. He said, whatever, however you're doing, you better keep doing it. That's all I can tell you. You know, that it was a miracle.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a miracle, and that's what that the Lord had delivered an angel there, and the angels are real, just like Bigfoot's real, Dogman's real. These things are all alive and well, and they're around us. And like you said, they work on different frequencies, and we see them when different things happen.
Yep. I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree. Well, I think that's a good one to end on. And thank you for coming and sharing
my
with
pleasure.
us.
I'm glad I could finally get it done for you.
Yeah, I know people are going to enjoy this. There's a lot of information to go through here. So,
Well, maybe we'll open some eyes to people that that are non-believers, that will look into it and maybe become believers. I mean, we're
hopefully
talking
so.
about all these things that happen to you and I. You know, you've seen demons yourself, and we know they're very real, and they attack people, and they try to do things. But the main thing is they got to know the Lord. Jesus he's right here with us. He's real, and you can get saved and baptized, but you got to know who he is. You got to visit with him every day, a little bit, you
Yep,
know. And I
that's
talk to
right.
him all day long because I'm an idiot. I couldn't make it without him. I do
That's
dumb
how I
I do
feel.
dumb stuff all the time. Yeah, so I need him holding on to my belt loops all the
Yep,
time.
that's right.
But
That's
he's out
absolutely
there, and people are at the point right now where if you don't know him, I suggest that you severely get busy and find out who he is and get on his side, because you need him a lot worse than you think.
Yep, definitely. Okay, I think that's a good one to stop on.
All righty.